Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Evie for doing the graphics. He did the graphics just for you guys. Did you see? It was for just you, and it had my witty and wise listeners. Thank you for Evie. Thank you to Evie's son Zach for being our number one fan. I appreciate that. So I decided we should do this. We should just do just us this week. Next week. I forget who I have lined up for next week, but I have, Freddie Rubino, comedian Freddie Rubino will be joining us next week on the podcast. So that'll be great. And of course, you guys as well. Thank you to everyone who has liked the channel, subscribed. Thank you to the subscribers. Please subscribe. Please hit that thumbs up on YouTube. The audio will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker probably sometime tomorrow. Although tomorrow is my third laser treatment for my face, because you get older, this becomes a Jenga puzzle. And like every couple of months you wake up and there's another piece gone and you don't know where the piece is going to be gone from. And you never know what's going to fall over. So a little preventive care is tomorrow. So hopefully that won't be too bad. And hopefully that'll work out just fine. I will be in on the Chris Salcedo show next Monday between 4 and 5 o'clock. I should be, unless we get bumped for some big news. All right, so let's see who is here, shall we? By the way, I have a new audio system. As you can see, I have a new microphone. So we're going a little more high tech. And so a couple of bugs here and there. So if the audio does not work again, I appreciate you telling me. And as I saw, several of you did. So thank you. Scott's first in. Hello on this anniversary of the Titanic tragedy. I didn't realize that today was the time. Oh, I didn't know that. Suze, hello everyone. Merry time. Woo. Oh, I am in for, speaking of Susan and Manglebush here. I am in, where is it? Where Tuesday? I want to see I'm in next Wednesday and Thursday for Rich Zioli on PHT. So I'll be in next Wednesday and Thursday for Rich. Porchview says it is Jackie Robinson's day. Rebecca is here. Ron is here. Squeaky's here. Let's see. Sue said, I saw it was National Laundry Day as well. Happy laundry to all. I have to tell you, I do so much laundry and there's only 2 of us. It's crazy. I do a lot of laundry. Yeah, so no sound. Yep, now I'm back. Star Driver is here. Scott, I was late and I thought I missed something. Nope. Like Ron says, new mic, which you can't see, but yeah, new mic. It's not in the headphones anymore. It's much better for sound. So Star Driver, great job on the David Webb show last week. Thank you so much. I like doing that show. Lincoln was assassinated on this day. This has been a very, very important day in history. I had no idea. It's also the day after tax. Today's tax day. It's also tax day. Nobody mentioned tax day, right? April 15th. Today's tax day. We got hit hard this year. Anybody else get hit hard this year? Like, we do estimated taxes, quarterly taxes, and we got a not so great surprise when our accountant did our taxes for both the state of New Jersey and for the feds. And we had to write like big checks, like for the feds, like a lot of money. And so now, like, we didn't get, so apparently if you underestimate by a lot, which we did when we didn't realize it, we are not paying a fine, which is good. So we didn't get fined, but now we have to like overestimate what we pay for the rest of I hit the mic, for the rest of the year in our estimated taxes. Like, you have to overpay them now. So anyway, so that was that. It's ridiculous. Star says today is NGO funding day. Rebecca, our government is so crooked, everyone should send them our monopoly money. We should. So I want to start off, if you guys have things you want to talk about, please throw it out. There's some stuff going on with Letitia James right now, but I couldn't sit and watch it on Laura Ingraham. But so the IT department kept coming in to tell me what was going on. So apparently Letitia James may be in trouble. She may be doing exactly what she accused Donald Trump of doing. Oh, shock. Because that's what they do. Exactly what they're accusing you of doing, they're usually doing. So this is fantastic. But I couldn't find it up on Fox yet. But I did find, hold on, a couple things I did find is that, well, first of all, let's start the show off with this. Since we're going down history, we're going to talk about history. Wink Martindale is dead, 91 years old. And what I found so interesting about Wink Martindale, he worked for 74 years hosting various game shows. Only men get away with that. Women would never get away with that. Nope. Women would never get away with that. So he's 74 years. He was 91, as I said. He was surrounded by his family, including his wife. He had a 74-year career in Hollywood. Now, listen to the game shows. Like, I always think of, whenever you think of like game show host names, is always Wink Martindale, right? Like the stereotypical game show host. But listen, he hosted Tic Tac Dough. Remember Tic Tac Dough? High Rollers. I think that was like was that like in the 70s or 80s? And he had like the big die, and like they rolled them like they were rolling them in Vegas, but they were like these really big, like comic. Wasn't that High Rollers? And Gambit. I don't remember Gambit at all. I have no idea when that was. And he was also a close friend of Elvis Presley. Yeah. In 2019, Wink gave a interview to Fox News Digital, and he said he met Elvis Presley on a hot July night in 1954. And he said very few people know that Elvis gave away literally millions and millions of dollars to charitable organizations, not only in this country, but all over the world. He was a great giver. If he was your friend, he was your friend until the day you died. I mean, he would always be your friend and do everything for you that you needed him to do. He was that kind of person. Martindale was married to his wife, Sandra, for 49 years. Oh, man, just shy of 50, Winkster. Who called him Winkster? I saw that. Gregory, not the Winkster. Yeah, Sandra married him. They got married in 1975, and she credited Elvis Presley for her marriage to Wink Martindale. In a 2015 interview at The Hollywood Reporter, she said, Elvis is responsible for me marrying Wink. When Martindale said he was from Tennessee, I said, oh, he must be a nice guy, because I loved the state. I loved all the guys. I loved everything in the state of Tennessee, because Elvis was such a wonderful part of my life. And back in 2014, he told ABC News about the meaning behind his name. When I was a kid in Jackson, Tennessee, one of my playmates, Jimmy McCord, couldn't say Winston, which is my given name. So it's not Wink Martindale, it's Winston Martindale. I don't know, like the name Winston, like very few guys can carry that off, and you got to have the right name for it. It sounds like a name someone's going to give their dog, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I don't know. They couldn't say Winston, which is my given name. He had a speech impediment, and it came out sounding like Winky. So Winston turned into Winky, and then I got into the business, and Wink it was. It served me well. So rest in peace, Wink Martindale. Yeah. Star Driver says, Stephen Miller is my new hero. I love watching him handle the leftist media. Yes, he is. Michael, this is a new one. I don't believe we've seen Michael before. Loved you filling in for David last week. Thank you for off politics topics. Better to tell crazy hubby ER. You won't believe what we had come in the doors today than daylight savings times issues. I don't know. I actually have daylight savings to talk about. That's interesting. I'm not quite sure. I don't really understand what you wrote there, Michael, so you might want to explain. So tic-tac-toe was my favorite for watching your back. 80s was High Rollers, was in the 80s. And they had like, am I right? Did they have the big like comical dice, and they rolled it down the thing, like down, and you had to get like a whatever, snake eyes or whatever it was when they were doing it. Late 70s, Porchview Farm, I loved him. Squeaky, Real ID fun fact, only 4 states verify citizenship on their Real ID. Why bother? We're going to talk about that too. Scott says, I heard that Colonel Parker got most of the millions. Elvis's founder originated manager or something. He was his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. He really kind of discovered Elvis and was his manager. I don't know if he got all the millions. I think Priscilla and his kids oh gosh, his daughter, Lisa Murray. I think they did okay. I think they did fine. And he supposedly gave away a lot of it. So, all right, since daylight savings time was brought up, can we talk about that? So, supposedly, Congress is going to do something about daylight savings time. What I meant was you talked about daylight savings time issues on David's show. Yes, and I think it would be more fun and more interesting since everyone has their opinion already on it. Okay, yeah. Well, that's exactly what it was one of my topics. Where is it? See? Daylight savings time. Oh, I keep hitting the microphone. It says so right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it says daylight savings time right there. See? So here's my thing, and as I said on David's show, I don't care. Could you just please pick a lane and stay in it? That would make me super, super, super happy. Just pick a lane and stay in it. But I will say, I think I'm on the side. Everybody wants daylight savings time because I want more time and it's more sun when I get home from work, and I get it. But with daylight savings time, the sun comes up an hour later. So if you have kids who are going to school, they may be, heading to the school bus, walking, whatever, in the dark. And I remember back when I was in elementary school, I walked to school. And there was one winter where they didn't move the clocks. And I think that's what it was. And we had to walk to school in the dark. And I'm in elementary school. I'm like a kid. I'm like third grade, whatever. I don't, because I remember what happened, but I was young and we had to walk. So we always walked together, usually, because there was a little gaggle at one end of our street. We all were together and we'd all walk to school together. And we were like maybe like a 2-block walk, if you didn't cut through yards, and it's so funny because it was such different times, because my parents would like stay together, but we lived in the middle of nowhere, like farm country. Nobody was really worried about anyone being abducted, but it was dark. Do you think our parents drove us to school? No. They're like, be careful out there. No, out the door we went, and that was it. And they sent us off to school, and we walked to school in the dark. And I remember that was a big thing. And then they went back to daylight savings time. So I wonder if standard time is better than daylight savings time, right? Because you would maintain that year round. Yes, you wouldn't get your extra hour. It's not going to be light. And especially like if when we go to Montana, we're in the western edge of the time zone of mountain time, and it's light at 10 o'clock at night. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. So, and it all depends on where you are in the time zone as to what you think. But I think most people want daylight savings time. Florida wants it. Texas wants it. Those states want it. But what about the children? We have to think about the children. Gregory, don't let them steal an hour of our lives. Yes, Greg, they're never going to give it back. I wish they would just leave it at this time, which is daylight savings. But it's great because it's later, but it's darker, and the sun rises an hour later too. And you do have kids going to school, and in the winter, right? If it stays standard time, it would be later, earlier, right? Honestly, I don't care. I just want them to pick a lane and stick with it. I like the time change. What is wrong? Does anybody else like the time change? You like the time change, Porch View? I like the time. You love like falling behind. I'm totally down with. I love that. Like I'm like, yay with falling behind. I get an extra hour of sleep. When we spring forward, I can't. And especially, I remember I've done morning shows, and you spring forward and the entire morning team is like bouncing off of walls when they walk through the hallway, because it's so, you're exhausted. I can't. Plus, with the change from spring to summer, like when we spring forward, you have more car accidents, you have more heart attacks. Oh, wait. So Michael's leaving because I'm talking about daylight saving time. Well, you know what? We're going to talk about something else, Michael. We're going to talk about a lot of other things. He wants to talk about stories that my husband had said he had. He said more and more interesting to tell crazy ER stories that your husband said happened that day at work, and you won't believe what happened, Mary. This guy came in with this, or this woman came in and said, yeah, well, I don't think my husband's going to dish on patients. I think that's kind of like not allowed. He can't really do that. Can't do that thing. So, but we're not going to talk about daylight savings time the entire time. I just wanted to touch on it because there are a lot of other things to talk about. I have several stories of things to talk about, and I've got some breaking news to get into too. So, Gramble, I go to work in the dark. I come home from work in the dark. Yeah. Star driver, I drive all over the country. Doesn't matter to me. Either way, I just need to know where Indiana and Arizona are at in time. Exactly. I used to fill in on a station in Arizona, and that was so funny. I used to have to, I had to figure out like what the time difference was during certain times of the year so that I knew, where I was in the show. Rebecca, they did studies on the change causes more people to have strokes and heart attacks. Yeah, exactly. I think Now Tax USA says, I think it was on your web show, a caller said, as a farmer, they get up at dark and they go to supper at dark and the animals don't care. Yeah, to the animals, it's always the same time. Porch, it gives me something to look forward to. In the winter, I can go to bed at 6 p.m. In the spring, I get up at 5:30. Can we give Porch View something else to look forward to than that? Please, can we give something to look forward to? All right. So one of the things I wanted to touch on was, can we, it's been, everybody on social media has been fighting about this. Everybody's been talking about it. And I'm wondering if someone can explain this to me, because I don't get it. I don't understand it. So, Real ID, like what, so I can use my passport to fly and to get into federal buildings. But if I want a real ID, I need my passport and like 16 other pieces of ID in order to get a real ID. So if my passport's good enough to get on a plane and my passport's good enough to get into federal buildings, then why do I need the real ID? And why do I need more pieces of flair in order to get a real ID? Like, why? Can anyone tell me what's the difference between my current license and my a real ID license? Because I don't have one. So I could have gotten one, but in New Jersey, they won't credit you. So like I got my license renewed and then next year they came out with real ID finally, because New Jersey is like the last state to get their act together. So I was like, I'm not going to waste all the money that I just spent for my 4-year license or whatever it is, because they're not going to credit you. So I spent the money for the 4 years for my renewal. And then they wanted me 1 year into it to go to real ID and pay again. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I just have the regular ID. I just have a regular driver's license. And when it comes time to renew, I'm probably just going to continue to get a regular driver's license. It's less expensive. And I don't have to gather up, family or, paperwork and everything and get, I have to go into the attic and find things, all that. And if I can use my passport to get a real ID, but I can also use my passport to do everything else, then why do I even need one? And if why do I need more ID for a real ID than I do to get my passport? This doesn't make any sense to me. So if anybody can explain that to me, I would be super, super, super happy. Star Driver says the problem is too many states gave driver's licenses to illegals, and that's why they can't be used as ID now. Well, here's the thing. In New Jersey, it says not for ID, not for official ID on a driver's license that they give to an illegal. It doesn't say that it's like it can be used for identification. So at least in our state, the one thing New Jersey did right was that you cannot get an appointment to get a real ID in the state of New Jersey at all, period, end of story. You can't. It's ridiculous. You need an appointment, but yet they have all of these other appointments. I was reading this. Somebody was complaining about, they did a piece and they said there were 13,243 appointments available for non-driver IDs, 34,155 appointments open for transferring driver's licenses from out of state, and 51,809 renewal appointments available, but nothing for real ID, driver's license. And instead, they made a really good point. Well, why don't they take some of the empty appointments they have for these other things and make them real ID appointments? Like that's what a normal person would do, but it's the government, so it's the DMV. According to the DMV's automated voice service, because you can't get through to a person. So when they did the research for this article, they had to call and get the message, the automated message, because they couldn't get a human being, because yay, New Jersey. The department says 3,000 new appointments for real ID updates are added each business day starting at 7 a.m. So if you can just wait till 7 a.m. and call in like it's the old days of trying to get Springsteen concerts on Ticketmaster. Remember that back in the day? You had to call in, you had to redial and have like 3 phones go in and you're trying to get your tickets. Remember that? It's the same thing at 7 o'clock in the morning. But if you have to work, you can't do that. It's ridiculous the day of. As of Monday, the New Jersey DMW, what the hell is it? Oh, New Jersey, a website had issued 1,381,916 real ID compliant licenses and IDs. So they also have IDs, which are non-driving ones. So it's maybe for people who want to have an ID so they can vote or whatever, but it's not a license. They're processing record number of in-person transactions, especially real IDs, and we continue to evaluate our operations and capacity each week, blah, blah, blah. Valid passports can be used as an alternative to boarding domestic flights and entering federal facilities. So why in God's name would I put myself up through this? Why? That makes no sense whatsoever. Why would I put my, if you have a passport, why in God's name would you do this? What's the difference? Let's see. All right, I got some. Let's see. Scott says, I hear they fake passports all the time. I don't know about that. Because it does have like a hologrammy thing on there. Fake driver's license, of course, regular ones. Star says, I have the real ID. It's not that big of a deal, but then I've had to do the same thing to get pre-check, TWIC, gun permits, etc. Real ID may be required to get into federal buildings. It is. It will be required, but you can use your passport to get into a federal building too. So I don't like jumping through hoops to do it twice just because the government says I have to do it twice. And it costs more money. Everything in this state is cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Porch View. I got a real ID in 2012 when I moved back from West Virginia from Cleveland. It says real ID. That's the difference. Ours has a star on it. Literally has a star on it. Where is New Jersey? New Jersey real ID. I think it has a star on it, doesn't it? Like a gold star, or a black star down in the corner of it. Real ID. Let's see what it looks like. Images. I think it has there's like a star on it to show that it's a real ID. Yeah, it has a white star and a gold circle top right. So on the top right of your license, the top right, it has the a yellow circle with a white star in it. So that's what it has on it to show that it's a real ID. Sue's, my daughter needs one for a plane trip in June, going to get her a passport instead. Hours long procedure in Pennsylvania. Yes, but you can also expedite it as well. It costs more, but you can expedite it because I think a lot of people are going to be getting these real IDs. Because when my passport had expired and I had to go, or it was going to expire, I forget, but I had to go expedite it. You have to go to Philadelphia or New York in this area you got to drop it off and hand it to them, and the pictures and all this other stuff. And from there on in, I learned to always check and make sure that I have my passport pictures, everything else, send it in, like a year before, get it back, and I'm good. So I hope she's going to a fun place. Now Tax says real ID sounds like if you have a passport, they should send us it for free, or it's maybe just another tax. Yeah. All states have the yellow.
Are supposed to have something close to
Okay. Supposed to have you have a real ID, right? You have a real ID, right?
Yeah, I need it.
Why? Why couldn't you just use, why? What is it? Come here. What is, so the IT department has a real ID. What does the real ID give you that your license doesn't?
That you can be used to get on a plane in a certain
way. So can a passport.
Right. It's just I didn't want to be carrying my passport every time I would fly.
Okay. It just seems like a lot of hoops to jump through when you really don't get anything more. It's just my driver's license.
Right. It's a driver's license that's been certified, and the reason it takes more than more than just your passport is
right.
You're also certifying your.
I'm certifying my residency. Okay. Yeah, because I bring in a utility bill.
Yeah.
Which all the utility bills are in your name, so I can't do that.
Yeah, something here. I trust you with one or two.
Just saying. All right, so the IT department jumped through the hoops. Real ID is less able to be faked. I don't know about that. Suze, it stinks for women. Married name versus maiden name. More paperwork. So crazy. Didn't change my name. Honestly, I did not change my name, and I'll tell you why. First of all, my initials I would not have liked my initials, number one. Number two, my husband's last name is long and Italian, and nobody ever spells it right. Nobody ever pronounces it right. Number three, it's a lot of work. Number 4, I kind of figured if it was a great deal, like if it was a good thing, men would have started changing their names centuries ago. Like men would have jumped right on that. Like they would have said, "Oh, this is really cool. This is good. We're taking this, lady. You can't change your name. You have to, I'll take yours." It would have been a great thing. So because men don't do it and they make women do it, I kind of figured it's not a good deal. And lastly, I know, and I just put it off. I had no desire. And he was like, whatever. He didn't care. So it was good. Worked out. So I knew someone who was in sales at a radio station, and let's say her name was Beth Smith, and her mate when she was born, she was Beth Smith. And then when she was getting married, because she was in sales, she had to acclimate all of her clients to her new name, so she became Beth Smith Jones. All right, and then she eventually became Beth Jones. She gets divorced. Now she goes from Beth Jones to Beth Jones Smith, back to Beth Smith, and I thought, oh hell no, not doing it. It's just too much work. So I don't understand why you need to do it. I don't get it. Who cares? If you have kids, give them his name, give them your name, make it up. Whatever. But I just think it's a lot of work. So I never did it. So there you go. That's why you don't change your name. Sorry, Suze. Porch View. I just renewed online a few weeks ago. The ID has a bunch of hologram West Virginias on it. Yeah, I think my Jersey license has has hologram on it though too. Rebecca, I have federal license, and yes, the first time you get it, you have to have a marriage certificate, right, to show you changed your name. If I don't have real ID, I can't be called for federal jury duty. Score. I think I would like to do federal jury duty. That sounds like fun. They probably get the good cases, not like the stupid stuff, right? Like they probably get good cases. I've never been picked for a jury. I usually don't go in for jury duty anyway. Gregory, you can enter a nuclear power plant with a real ID. I don't think the passport turns the key. Darn, there goes that class trip to the nuclear power plant. Oh no. Rebecca, I got my federal license renewed a month ago and I was only in the DMV for 10 minutes. God bless it. New Jersey, when you go to the DMV, pack a lunch. You're like the Donner Party heading out over the pass. You got lunch, you got water, you got a tent, you're in for the long haul, and they're surly and they hate life and they hate people. And you try to be nice to them and they're like, give me your papers. No. It's like every stereotype of what you think a DMV is. That's New Jersey. It's terrible. Star Driver, it has to have the star on it to be a real ID. North Carolina is a gold star. Yeah, I remember the last time they used gold stars to identify people. Didn't turn out so well. In order to get a real ID, you have to have an address and they have to mail it to you here in Kentucky at that address. 3 letters, you need 3 documents. Well, they hand it to you. I think they hand it to you in New Jersey. I don't know. There is a star. I don't know because I'm not getting one. See, like when you go to get your regular license, like if you have to go in and renew it, like every so many years, they don't let you use the same picture anymore and you got to go in and take a new one. Which I think is good, even with all the upkeep, you start to look different. And now you're not allowed to smile anymore in pictures. You have to look like a prisoner, like it's a Soviet, like everything you would imagine every Soviet black and white driver's license photo to look like. When I tell you, don't smile. And I'm like, so I have like this really surly look on my face. He's like, you okay with that? I'm like, does it matter if I'm okay with it? You told me how I should look. Just put it on there. Are you sure? Put it on there. I don't care. Whatever. It's not the easiest process in the world. And like I said, you're there forever and they just hate life and they hate you. And it's horrific. Now tax, when 40% of Christians don't vote and 30% of gun owners don't vote, the real ID could stop the stubborn citizens not to get involved. Could stop the stutters. Just a thought, like a silent protest. Well, we have to vote. You can't not vote. Have the IT department write you a leash. Write you a leash. What does that even mean? So Beth, is this just BS now? It is less likely to be faked. Okay. Now, real ID. Okay. And we talked about daylight savings time. Listen, I thought this was interesting. It depends on the polls you look at and how they do their methodology and who they ask. And it's a lease, a fake lease. There you go. IT department, write you a lease. So we just heard that President Trump's underwater, his approval rating has gone down, etc. Well, according to this poll, this is a new poll. They come out every week, and this one's from the Daily Mail. They have President Trump's approval rating surging to its highest number since he was inaugurated in January. Currently, his approval rating sits at 54% with only 46% disapproving. This ties his all-time high this year in this poll and is a 5-point boost in approval since late March. So 2 weeks. Among the noise and criticism, it was a poll of 1,002 registered voters, was taken between April 10th to the 14th, so yesterday, so it just came out today. During the stock market turmoil, after the president instituted the tariff increase. Among the noise and criticism, there does seem to be a simple truth. The more coverage there is of Trump's changes, the more voters reward him for what they see as the pace and purpose that many of them voted for. Yeah. How many times has someone, the blue side that somehow wandered off a blue sky has said, "Did you vote for this?" And I'm like, well, actually, yes, I did. Give me more of this. I'm really liking this. So yes, I'm super happy about this. So why do you think it is? Is that what's going on here? So let me break it down. Let me give you the breakdown. They found that 64% of those between the ages of 18 to 29 approve of the job that Trump is doing. 64% of those between the ages of 18 and 29. Is this just the pendulum swinging back the other way? Because the generations ahead of them were so liberal, especially Gen Z is so liberal. And this is what Gen Alpha, I don't even know what they are anymore, but whatever. But the generations ahead of them are so liberal that they're just swinging back the other way. It's the natural progression, right? Like if my parents are for this, I'm against it because I'm rebelling. And that's what they do. Ron says Real ID does not verify citizenship. Oh, yippee. So we'll get another one in a couple of years. So 64% of those aged 18 to 29 approve. Those over 65, 54% approve. I thought it would be higher, but the over 65 cohort is the original hippies, right? And they are just living their best life right now. They're like, woohoo. They've gotten out the vintage Grateful Dead t-shirts. They broke out the Birkenstocks. They've got, they all have the same crazy Bernie Sanders comb my hair with a balloon look. They've got out the bongos and the guitars, and they're singing their Arlo Guthrie and their mamas and papas and all those songs. Joan Baez, they rolled her out. You see that? So they are living their best life right now. For them, this is like the last hurrah. I briefly thought for a hot second that when I was watching it, I thought I had stumbled on a live stream from the Villages, and it was Woodstock Day. Like dress up like Woodstock Day. That's what, for a hot second, that's what I thought it was. And then I realized, oh no. It's all the old hippies. They're out again. Who let them out? They're out in number. Why is this happening? So they're loving it. They're living their best life. There's not a lot of young people there. There's no Black people at all at these protests at all. Did you notice that? There's no Black people. There's no Hispanic people. There's a couple of Asians here and there, but that's it. That's it. So I'm not surprised I'm kind of surprised it's at 54%, I guess. The 30 to 49 and 50 to 60, so 30 to 64 age groups, 52% for 30 to 49, 51% 50 to 64. So over 50%, more than half in every age group, approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. Independents are the ones that don't, they're at 48%. And I'm sure Democrats, they don't give the Democrat number, but I'm sure they're down there too. In this same poll in early March, Trump's disapprove number was upside down by 2 points, 49% approved, 51% disapproved. Today, he's up 8 points, 8 points in a month, 54 to 46%. The three most recent polls in the Real Clear Politics average have Trump above water. The other thing too is, remember when everybody said America was on the wrong track? Could that be what this is? I don't know. Let's see. Porch View. Rasmussen and Barris have had these numbers for a while. Midwest is very happy. Suze, you have to show birth certificate. It has to be from US, doesn't it? Yeah, see, that's the thing. Your birth certificate has to show, and if your birth certificate doesn't show that you're a citizen, going back to the Real ID thing, I think you have to show your naturalization papers or something like that. Like they're not, if you have a green card, I don't think you're going to get, I don't know. These are all questions. I don't know. Star Driver, they're back to smoking pot out while they're protesting, but now it's for their glaucoma. It has to be from the US. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. All right. So let me get this news. I'm gonna do it this way. Let me see if I can find it. Letitia James. She spells her name with two T's. Letitia James. Here we go. So Letitia James. So I want to get into this. Okay. So Letitia James is in New York, Southern District of New York, and she went after Trump, and they got him to be a convicted felon, right, in the courtroom with the guy who looked like he's dead. What was his name? I got Boasberg stuck in my head, but it's not him. And he looked like he's dead, and he was like doing the media tour, and he's laughing and everything else. And Tish James was sitting there like, "We got Trump," and she campaigned on, "I'm going to get Trump." And they did. They got him. Finally, they got him to be a convicted felon. Of course, then they never sentenced him to anything. And I was like, well, if you think he's so dangerous. It was like something like 136 counts. It was stupid. The whole thing was dumb, and we all know it was dumb. But it was about overvaluing the Mar-a-Lago to get a mortgage, remember? Or get a loan. Lurch, he looks like Lurch, Star Driver says. Yeah, he did kind of look like Lurch, didn't he? Anyway, so she went after him for deflating the value of Mar-a-Lago. That's what it was. Like he inflated the value of Mar-a-Lago to get a loan, inflated the value. And the judge came back and said Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million, which is ridiculous and hilarious. And just, it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. Now, nothing's been done about that, but Letitia James was hit with a federal crime referral of alleged mortgage fraud. They hit her today, according to the New York Post. The Federal Housing FHFA Director William Pulte sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche, alleging that Letitia James had falsified records to get home loans for a property in Virginia that she claimed was her principal residence in 2023 while she was serving as a New York State prosecutor. Now, I don't think that's a job you could do remotely. In February of 2001, James bought a 5-family dwelling in Brooklyn, but has consistently misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in both building permit applications and numerous mortgage documents and applications. So it's a 5-family dwelling, but she says it's only 4. He also attached several documents showing that James purchased another property with her father as a co-signer, but falsely listed the pair as husband and wife in 1983 and again in 2000. While this was a long time ago, it raises serious concerns about the validity of Ms. James's representations on mortgage applications. The New York Post has reached out to James for comment. They're always doing what they accuse you of doing. Trump is not an official felon of sentencing. If no sentencing happened, no, he was sentenced. They rushed to get the sentencing in before the election, so he was sentenced. But it was like a suspended. There's no crime with it, so I mean, no time. He's not going to spend any time. There's no fines. There's no punishment. Nothing. But he is now a convicted felon, and that's all they wanted. That's what they wanted. That was a different case, by the way. That was a different case because that was the judge whose daughter works for the Democrats. What's his name? Marchand. That was Judge Marchand. And he got no sentence. And I was on X. I'm like, well, if he's so dangerous, why isn't he not, why isn't he in jail? I mean, he's a convicted felon. And this is terrible. But he has been. You're right. You're absolutely right, Suze. But they did rush to sentence him. Suze, Trump is not officially. Oh, that was what we just read. Rebecca, Letitia James, in my humble opinion, looks like the drag queens that she likes hanging out with. She's unfortunate. I don't like to make fun of people's looks because I don't think you can always help it. You got what God gave you, and so I don't like to do that. But I kind of see where you're going. Gregory, living in one state while serving the people in another state is hanky. Yes, it is. Letitia married her daddy. I hear banjos. Star Driver. Now tax. You wonder if the statute of limitation applies. If so, just use the Trump standard. Ignore the law. Forget about the statute of limitations. Exactly. That's exactly what they should do. Star Driver says, by the way, don't forget Adam Schiff claimed his Maryland residence as his primary, so it saved him $7,000 in property taxes. And that's what I'm sure she did, because I'm sure the property taxes in Virginia are far less than the property taxes in New York. What's interesting is Adam Schiff, though, was he ever brought up in charges for that? Because I don't think he was. How come? How come? Why is Trump held to the standard, but Adam Schiff is not? Rebecca is with us. Hello, Mary, and all you MAGA listeners. Yay. Oh, she's Aussie, AAUS. I think that's Australia, right? That's not stand for Australia? I think so. Well, welcome. Good to see you, Rebecca. Good to see you again. Okay. So I wanted to bring you that. Also breaking news, more news. Pete Hegseth. All right. So, they're doing these, Tulsi, I think it's Tulsi Gabbard is doing the lie detector test. That's the word I'm looking for. The lie detector tests, right? To find out who the leakers are, because people are leaking. Well, a top advisor to Pete Hegseth named Dan Caldwell has been placed on administrative leave by the DOD. He has been arguing for the U.S. to dramatically reduce their footprint in Europe, to pull all forces from Syria and Iraq. He was given the box and escorted out of the Pentagon today and placed on administrative leave. Reuters first reported that Dan Caldwell had been placed on leave for, quote, unauthorized disclosure of information during an investigation into Pentagon leaks. And official confirmed to Fox News Digital that Reuters reporting is accurate, but declined to comment on an ongoing investigation. Ooh. He previously worked at a think tank called Defense Priorities and Concerned Veterans for America, which was formerly led by Pete Hegseth. He's a foreign policy realist. I'm making air quotes. He has argued that the U.S. should dramatically reduce its footprint, as I said. So last month, the DOD announced a probe into recent unauthorized disclosures of national security information and said they plan to use polygraphs to determine the source of the leaks. Oh, I wonder if this is where it comes in. The use of polygraphs in the execution of this investigation will be in accordance with applicable law and policy. According to the Chief of Staff, Joe Casper, DOD Chief of Staff, this investigation will commence immediately and culminate in a report to the Secretary of Defense. Caldwell did not immediately reply to a request for a comment. Yeah, this is bad. Well, we'll see what happens. I feel bad for Pete Hegseth because the whole signal thing that happened, and now this, and this guy was really close to Pete Hegseth. So that was more breaking news that I wanted to share with you. Under the Biden administration, under the Biden administration, places lower on the priority list. Yes, absolutely. Adam Schiff is. All right. Here's some more news. So remember, everybody got that sweet buyout. Remember, to get them to leave. What did they have? I forget what they called it. What Elon Musk called it, but they gave them the opportunity to resign. If you resign, you will get you'll get 8 months. They got 8 months of pay and benefits. Now, I don't know about you, but the best I've gotten is 3 months, and that's only because I had a contract. But like the everyday person who gets fired from a job doesn't get anything. You get, here you go. Here's your pay to the end of the week or whatever it is. Turn in your keys, take your plant and your picture off the desk. They give you a box, and out the door you go. And then you can go apply for unemployment. But government workers were getting 8 months of pay and healthcare if they decided to take the buyout. Now, they were told this is going to be the best deal you're going to get, and not all of them did. Well, they just got a second go round, and it's 5 months of pay and healthcare. It's still pretty good. And apparently 20,000 IRS employees have accepted it. IRS, thank you. Yay, fewer people working at the IRS makes me super, super happy. They're taking the Trump administration's second deferred buyout offer, according to Bloomberg. According to a source familiar with the number of buyouts, it's about 1/5 of the IRS. Bloomberg reported about 4,700 people took the first deferred resignation offer earlier this year, and almost 7,000 probationary employees were put on administrative leave, but they're getting paid. The IRS already began its reduction in force plan earlier this month. And yeah, so they were previously told if they were involved, these employees in the 2025 tax season, they wouldn't be able to accept the buyout President Trump offered federal employees. They would have to wait until the filing deadline passed. Federal employees who accept the deal will stop working but continue to receive a paycheck and benefits through the end of September. Pretty stinking generous. And I know people who live in Washington, D.C. think this is terrible. And I'm like, oh my God, it's only terrible because you live in the bubble. If you were outside the Washington, D.C. bubble, you would think this was so insanely generous. And if you were smart, you'd like take a month to just like goof off and do whatever you want to do and, you know, clean out under your bed and the closets and things like that and feel really super accomplished. And then you'd start looking for another job. That's what you would do. And tell them you're ready to start in September or whatever the date is that you're done. So you get the whole summer off paid and you've got a job waiting for you in the fall. That's what you would do. So Star Driver has a really good thought here. Maybe this is the guy who put the reporter on the text list. Oh, yeah, Signalgate. Oh, maybe he was. That's a really good thought. Really good thought. I like the way you think, Star. Maybe it is. Okay. I don't know if you heard this. You know, we heard that Nancy Mace was threatened. They arrested someone who had threatened Nancy Mace, and he's the same guy who firebombed, allegedly, Governor Shapiro's residence in Pennsylvania. And did you see the picture of that guy? Woohoo! Looney Tunes, loony frickin' tunes. He is definitely not right. Yet he had a girlfriend. He called his girlfriend to tell them, yeah, tell him that I did it. So I can't wait to see her because he is, wow. A Georgia man. I don't even know if you heard this. I saw this headline. I was like, this is the first time hearing of this. A Georgia man has been arrested for allegedly threatening to kill Tulsi Gabbard as well as her family. She's the director of national intelligence. This is right after a teenager was arrested in Wisconsin who has been charged for killing his parents in an alleged attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. They wanted to kill his parents in order to get money to be able to assassinate Donald Trump. The left is a cult of violence. They've become the party of violence, and now they're becoming the party of assassination. And I see people who laugh at this and, oh, these people are unhinged. You gotta be really careful because if you look at like Cuba, it was a minority of people who overthrew Cuba. It wasn't the will of the majority at all, but they were violent. Same thing happened in China. I was just watching a movie called Sight. It's on Angel Network. It's so good if you can watch it. It's called Sight. It's a great movie. And they showed how when there was an uprising and it was young people who just came in and they were bullies and they just shut down schools and they kidnapped these kids and they forced these kids to, work for them and be part of them. And it was all strong arm tactics. Gee, where are you seeing that now? Oh, from the left, strong arm tactics. Same thing in Germany, right? And I hate saying Nazi Germany. I hate making references to that because it drives me crazy when people do. But Nazi Germany, what did they do? They forced the Jewish store owners out, right? They closed down their stores. You can't sell here anymore. They broke the windows. That's what they're doing with Tesla. Because we don't like your product. We don't like who you support. We don't like you. And so that's what they're doing with Tesla. So you're seeing, if you have a little bit of knowledge of history, you're seeing it being played out again right in front of your eyes. So they're becoming very, very, I think, violent on the left, and they're rapidly moving to a culture of assassination, and somebody's going to get killed and it's going to be awful. And you'll see the left start a GoFundMe for the alleged assassin, because that's what they do now. They start a GoFundMe for the alleged assassin. And it depends. It depends on the color of your skin. It depends on your gender. It depends on your values. Are you a Trump supporter? It depends on, like, they have their boxes that you have to check. And if you're not a sympathetic character, look at Luigi Mangione. They hold him up. They have a GoFundMe. All these women are like, oh, Luigi Mangione. I'm like, seriously? How do you think the Night Stalker killed so many women? Because they looked and went, ooh, he's so dreamy. I'm like, okay. Same thing with Jeffrey Dahmer. Apparently he was a gay man magnet and they loved him and he just kept killing them and eating them. So somewhere along the line, you have to open your eyes. And but because the man that Luigi Mangione allegedly gunned down on the streets of New York, it's okay because he's white. He was a pharmaceutical representative, so they don't like his job. They don't like who he represents, right? Doesn't matter that he has a wife and kids. That doesn't matter. It all depends on all these extraneous boxes that you check or don't check. And that is what the left has set up, the paradigm that the left has set up with this, that makes assassination okay. And it's horrific. It's horrible. According to a press release from the Department of Justice, Ali Akbar Muhammad Amin, 24, was arrested for sending multiple text messages threatening Tulsi Gabbard as well as her husband between March 29th and April 1st. Like, that was a really short period of time. The case is being investigated by the FBI. Amin has been charged with transmitting interstate threats. A text allegedly from Amin to Gabbard's husband stated, now, how did they get your phone number? How would they get Tulsi Gabbard's husband's phone number? I don't get that. You and your family are going to die soon. I will personally do the job if necessary. Another message said, death to America means death to America, literally. Tulsi is living on borrowed time. According to screenshots of the texts included in the arrest affidavit, another message said, prepare to die, you Tulsi, and everyone you hold dear, America will burn. He also posted a picture of Tulsi Gabbard and her husband with someone holding a gun up to the photo of the two of them. When authorities searched his home, they found a firearm. Another text said, the home you two own is a legitimate target and will be hit at a time and place of our choosing. The rise of violence on the left is really scary, and we laugh at it, I think, at our own peril. I think we need to take it for the scary the precedence that it is, like the scariness that it is, and we need to take these people seriously because they're crazy. They are crazy, 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 and there are a lot of people like this guy who was arrested in suspicion of firebombing Shapiro's residence, and also sending Nancy Mace threatening letters. If you saw him, really scary. It looks like Beaker from the Muppets, but with a mustache, like a crazy scraggly mustache and like really scraggly. I think he's got facial hair of some kind, and his eyes like he's got the crazy eyes going. He's like got that thing going on. And when a reporter asked him a question, he just stuck his tongue out at him. I'm like, okay, you're totally sane. So, yeah. He's the engineer on the train to Crazy Town. Yes, he is, Star. Star says there have been several threats lately against federal officials and Trump's. Yeah, they're nonstop. And honestly, I have to tell you, the left is not condemning any of this. And I think that they would probably be pleased. I do. I think there are some on the left who would actually be like, oh, that's so bad. Yeah. Right? They're sick. Like, they're the people power for power's sake. And if some people have to be hurt along the way, oh well, they don't care. Scott says it's so utterly amazing the things that social media sources and apps will push modern day people to do. It really is. It is. Sue says, how about the crazy man who sent Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro's home on fire with his family inside? Suze, did you see the pictures of him? Did you see them? Gregory, modern day brown shirts. Yeah, except they're black shirts, right? They're the Democrats' enforcers. Star says, Scott, but people are careless that they post this on social media and it gets grabbed and used against them. Several people were arrested around the U.S. for threatening Sheriff Mike Chitwood. I didn't know that. Hermit's here. Sorry, so late. I just got home. That's okay. We love you. Star, several of them were in their mid to late 30s, no job, and live with their moms. Right. Sturmabteilung, or SA. Yeah. My curiosity is interesting to know if it is a competitor electric car manufacturing company that is behind the scenes causing Tesla these issues with problems with vandalism. It's not. It's not. They arrested that guy who firebombed one of the Teslas. Did you see his mugshot? He's got like black lipstick on. They're all crazy. And part of the problem is we indulge the insanity. We tell them, no, you're perfectly sane, right? You're really a unicorn. You are. And so I'm going to feed you unicorn food, and you can, sparkles for unicorns. And we indulge it. And that's not the right thing to do. Herman says someone on the inside might have released her phone number. Ooh, like you guys are got the tinfoil hats out tonight. He could have registered for a website, given his phone number. Maybe they got it off the dark web. Yeah. Star Driver says, look at the Nashville shooter and some of these others online who are trans and threaten people for not accepting them. Yeah, those shootings die. Like I guarantee you that if we find out that the guy from Governor allegedly firebombed Governor Shapiro's, the governor's mansion, that story disappears. You're never going to hear about him again. That story disappears. That's how you know when they don't want to release the manifesto of a shooter, and when the story dies from one of these shooters, you don't hear anything. Website registration information is public. Some people don't realize it. Star Driver, make mental institutions great again. Portrait has a really good point. Look how these people were during the virus, frightening and unhinged tyrants. Yeah, they became, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's the first time that they showed their authoritarianism, right? Am I wrong? Like, I think she's right. I think Portrait is right on. The first time they showed their authoritarianism was during the pandemic. Put your mask on. They were the ones screaming at you to put your mask on when their mask is like down below their nose and everything else, and it's open on the sides. It was all BS. And if you didn't, I had a woman yell at me in the store because I was standing too close to her, behind her, and she turned around. You're not 6 feet behind me. And I looked at her, I go, well, I don't think you're going to get the virus through your skull. So if you turn around and stop looking at me, you'll be fine. Leave me alone. Shut up. 6 feet. I can't. Do you realize how stupid it was that you couldn't stand closer than 6 feet to the back of someone's head? You're not going to get it through the back of your head. It was the dumbest thing. They were very, very stupid times. So we're going to look back on them and call them very stupid times. The left has yet to condemn the 574 riots in 2020, according to Star Driver. He's right. Hal, I saw those photos of that arsonist. Check out the New York Daily News to see his photo. He looks possessed. He truly does. But he had a girlfriend. How does that happen? I know perfectly sane, great women who don't have anybody. This guy landed a chick. Jerry says, I'm glad to hear they're arresting people making threats online, but my question is, why isn't Madonna or Johnny Depp in jail? Madonna did get a visit from Secret Service. They made very public threats of assassination against President Trump. Yeah, well, this was the first time around. I think second time around, it's different. It's different, right? Like the first time around. But this time around, I think it's much different. They are showing, like, look at what happened with the guy in the DOD with Pete Hegseth. Look at what Tulsi Gabbard's doing. They're using lie detector tests to find leakers. First time around, none of that happened. I think the Trump administration, they didn't know what they were doing. They trusted people to do their jobs regardless of who the boss was. And I think Donald Trump learned a really good lesson, which is why he's been planning this out for 4 years. This is what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. And he is, who is it? Steve Bannon says, flooding the zone. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing so much, they can't stop everything. And you've got these activist judges who are saying, you can't, every single person who you want to depart has to get their day in court. Well, that's ridiculous. And it's never going to happen because 300 years from now, you're still going to be deporting them because Joe Biden let in so many of them. That's ridiculous. Thank you. Love you and all your fellow chat and all of my fellow chatters. Star Driver says, Hermity ain't wrong. Okay, Sue says, I get crazy when I hear the authorities had them on their radar. What the heck? Exactly. You knew, but again, I think this time around, it's different times. It matters now. If we don't get a Republican governor, Republican president next time around, we're going back to the dark ages. We're going back to the bad days. Right now, Donald Trump's just holding it back. That's what he's doing. But if he doesn't get it back far enough, if he doesn't build a strong enough foundation, a strong enough bulwark against the socialism and communism that they want in this country, we're done. Thank God for Donald Trump. Because could you imagine if we had Kamala Harris as president right now? Can you even begin to imagine? I can't. Gregory, too many mugshots to keep track of. Yes. Star, the masks and all the protests in 2020, people are attacked for not being on their side. Exactly. Well, but this is what happens. To go back to what I was saying earlier, in these countries that have these uprisings, if you're not on their side, they destroy you, they silence you. Look, there, you know that you can't say certain things based on the color of your skin, right? Based on your gender, based, especially if you're a white male, you have less free speech than a black woman. I firmly believe that. You have less free speech than a black man. There are certain things as white people we are not allowed to say. So we don't all have equal free speech. I guess that's part of our white privilege. You know, it's the same thing with religions. Some religions are more sacred than others. Some religions are allowed to do things and others are not. You know, a barista at Starbucks will throw you out because they don't like your hat. They won't make you coffee, and it's a private business. I can do whatever they want, whatever I want. But if you're a Christian baker and don't want to bake a cake for someone, they will sue you into oblivion because you must conform to their will. This is what they do. And this is what happened and how these small groups wind up running an entire country and taking the whole thing over because they cow anyone who disagrees with them into submission and silence. And people are afraid to speak up, and which is how a minority takes control. And they are in the minority in this country, as we saw from the election. Starr, remember who was in charge of the FBI the first time around? Now we have Cash and Bongino. Yes. Sure Essentials. Gail and I were talking about how it's a good thing Trump had 4 years to gather a team and a plan. And in my opinion, he used up all his F's in that time, so he no longer has any F's to give. Yes. Do we all see the how good it was? Like as angry as I was for 4 years that Trump didn't win and I thought he was ripped off and everything. And I kept trying to give it up to God saying, you know, your plan, this is your thing. I don't understand how right it all was because we realized how horrific it was under Joe Biden, right? There are so many people who voted for Donald Trump this last time that would not have that didn't vote for him in 2020 and wouldn't have voted for him in 2020 if they were, you know, sat it out. And so I think that this was all for the best. I really do. And I even said that in my rosary every now and I'm like, you got it. You did the right thing. I knew you would. Hermit Sal giving a shout out to Star Driver Gregory. The president needs to start announcing a tariff deal a day, each day, every day. So let me ask you a quick question. I got a lot because we're running over, but just quick question. My husband said this the other night, and I want to get your opinion. So my husband said, Trump needs to start announcing all the good things that they're doing. Now, Doge has an actual website with everything that they're cutting. Now, what Doge finds, it's up to Congress to encode in like tax cuts and other cuts, et cetera. So only Congress can do that. Doge makes the recommendations. But Doge has a website where they're announcing these things. And they announce, 20,000 IRS workers are taking the buyout and this and that. Is it better to do that one a day? Or is it better to like do it all in one big shot? Like I what I would like to see them do is maybe every Friday night or every Monday night at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, there is like a little press conference that they have. And it'll be shown on, the usual suspects, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whatever. And this is what we've done. We took this much out of here. This is what we found here. This is the fraud and abuse we found here. We found, how many children between the ages of 0 and 5 who got unemployment insurance. We found this, we found this, we found this. And then, and also Trump with his tariffs. We did this, we went from this to this, and they have to have visuals. They have to have it in pictures and graphs because nobody pays attention to the words, but you have to have the visuals there for them. So I don't know if it's better to do a drip, drip, drip every day, or if it's better to just have these big announcements, every 2 weeks or something along those lines. I don't know. I don't know what the best one is. Star, the left doesn't realize that we've had 4 years to stock up on guns and ammo 2A. It's interesting, Sal says, how when Biden ignores a SCOTUS ruling, he's a hero. If Trump ignores a court order, he's a threat to the universe. He did not ignore the order from the government, from the Supreme Court. I'll pull this up real quick. Where is it? I'll pull this up real quick. This is actually CNN. X, come on. I bookmarked this. I just don't have it up. So let me play this for you. Okay. Let me pull this up. And I'm going to present, share the screen, this. Share. Okay. Let me know if you can hear this.
And President Trump and President Bukele made it clear that Abrego Garcia will not be returned to the United States, despite this U.S. Supreme Court ruling saying that Trump had to facilitate his return. So are they just ignoring a U.S. Supreme Court ruling, or is the fact that the ruling was so mushy, in your words,
Yes,
giving him an opening?
it's a technical term I learned in law school, Jake. Mushy. Look, they're working within the ambiguity that the Supreme Court justices gave them. They did not order the administration to return him to the United States. They said that they need to facilitate this return. They could have said, we order him returned, but they didn't do that. So you heard the Attorney General. She was being very careful in the Oval Office when she was asked, would you help? She says, of course we'd provide a plane, right? Thereby facilitating whatever El Salvador is doing. The Supreme Court appeared to defer to the executive branch, given that this is an international matter. And you see, yes, it does look a little bit like a semantic game, but they are playing within the bounds of what the Supreme Court ruled. So no, they are not defying this order.
And take
So there you go. They are not defying this order. And that's on CNN, kids. All right, let's go through these because we're running over here. Sue says, good idea. Greg, Rebecca, I'm thrilled to see Donald Trump sign all of these executive orders, but now we need to get Congress to act on to get them passed into legislation. Yes. Star Driver is Tom Homan is the king of zero Fs. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Am I the only person who loves Tom Homan? He's all rumpled. Like, even though he has a suit and a tie on everything, the tie is too tight, and he's always stuffy, and he just looks like the New York cop of the 70s, right? Like, he's got a suit on, but it's hot, and he's got a beer. He's got a beer. He's got a donut in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other, and he's all tough and everything. It's so Tom Homan. Rebecca, hope you all have a wonderful evening. Yep, Porch View. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening, meaning Congress passing legislation. Yeah. So Wami Mami, those 4 years are indeed divine intervention. Yes, because they gave JDT time to prepare. There's no way he would be moving at lightning speed otherwise. 100%. Star Driver says Doge is finding the evidence. It's up to the investigators to go get it. Yep, exactly. There's need to be prosecution of people if they were being fraudulent. They received money. Absolutely. Sue says hi to Swami Mommy. Oh, look at that. I love when people know each other and they find each other here. Star Driver says Harvard is going to survive by not getting $2 billion in funding because they have $53.2 billion in endowments. Absolutely. Susie says I'm a married groupie. Woot woot. Speaking of which, where's Mangle tonight? Where's Mangle? Sal, if Trump returns to TV, his new program could be Your Tariffs. That was very funny. Gregory, I wish in my very soul that Jake Tapper has a conscience. Oh, no. He's writing a book about the media's failure to call out Joe Biden for being mentally incompetent. But he's one of the ones he shut down Lara Trump for saying that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent. So he's a big hypocrite like the rest of them. There were 2 court rulings in 2019 to deport Maryland man. CNN can cry all it wants. Was it not delicious to hear the president of El Salvador tell Caitlin Collins that she was preposterous? Yes, that was excellent. That was excellent. Scott, the Supreme Court judge himself, I heard him say that they do not meddle in the foreign affairs of the United States executive presidency branch. But here's the thing. He was in the country illegally. He's in El Salvadorian prison. What it did say, though, was that he could not be deported to El Salvador because of fear of gangs. But fun fact that I heard today, and I don't know, well, I heard it on Fox today. That doesn't mean it's a fact. Okay, so we can check it. But apparently there's more members of MS-13 living in the United States now than are living in El Salvador. Or maybe it's Trendejuargo, but one of them. More living in the U.S. than there are living there of the gang that he was afraid of. That's why he couldn't go back to El Salvador for. So, but he can go anywhere else. So, Trump is supposed to help extradite him, right? Facilitate it. But if the president of El Salvador doesn't want to extradite a Salvadorian citizen to the United States, what are we supposed to do? And I think maybe they can extradite him somewhere else, like Finland, right? If he can't go to El Salvador, send him to like Finland or Greenland. They got fewer people than Wyoming, right? Star Driver loves a Tom Homan. Says, great show, everyone. Yes, Rebecca, we love Homan. He doesn't take crap from anybody. you know what? If I can find, I don't think I have the audio anymore. If I can find the audio, I don't think I have it anymore though. I'm going to play you Tom Homan audio. I think it's gone to forever. The low budget car sales lot guy on radio commercials here is now the tariff sheriff. But yeah, my Tom Homan audio is hilarious. Hilarious. Popeye Homan, a la the French Connection. Sue says, Sue says, be safe, be well. See you next week. Woot woot. Bye, Suze. All right, guys. So next week, Freddie Rubino will be joining us here. He's a comedian. He's been on before, and we're just going to talk about the news. If you guys have any stories you want us to talk about, topics, throw them out there. We'll do that. We'll get to them as much as we can. So Freddie will be with me, with us. I like to say us because you guys are here too. So Freddie will be with us next week. Don't forget to please subscribe if you have not done so. Please hit the thumbs up on any of the podcasts that you watch on YouTube. Same thing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker, where the audio will be available. I should be on the Chris Salcedo Show on Monday between 4 and 5. That's when I'm usually on, between 4 and 5 on the Chris Salcedo Show. So have a great one. Everybody stay safe and God bless. Bye.